this is your first time to restorative, welcome. As opposed to moving our bodies and working harder, we're going to go completely the opposite direction today, and we're going to relax. And interestingly enough, this can be really challenging sometimes. It's hard for us to give ourselves permission to be quiet. So kind of set that intention right now at the beginning of class. You don't have to work today. We're going to use props, and we're just going to kind of relax and breathe. So starting out, and I'm going to give you a few different variations. So for those of you that have a cushion from a couch, you might actually have a yoga bolster. You're going to take this, and it's going to go a long way on your mat. If the cushion that you're using is a little bit shorter, you might need a couple of these. We're going to have a block at the top of this set up. And then if you have some kind of blanket or a towel would be really good here. So I have a yoga blanket here. It's in quarters right now. I'm going to roll that up. So making a little burrito for underneath my ankle. So again, there's a lot of different things that you could use for this. So you could even roll up your yoga mat if you needed to. And then from here, we're going to come into a downward facing Shavasana that feels really nice. So the hardest part is kind of getting all of the props to hit you right. So do take some time setting all of that up. Be picky, be the princess and the pea, so that you can be really relaxed as we hold this. So you're going to have this ankle supporting you, or the blanket supporting you underneath your ankles. And then when you lay down here, if you do have something that you're using, you want it, the bottom of your bolster, the cushion, to kind of hit at those hip bones. So leg isn't really on the bolster. And then you're going to adjust your block so that you can rest your forehead, and you want the back of your neck nice and long. Personally, I think it feels really good to have the arms forward, kind of in this cactus shape, so palms facing down. You're welcome to play with other variations. I feel like the shoulders start to hang a little bit and it feels a little uncomfortable. If you were wanting to do that, you could always take some blocks underneath your shoulders. So if you don't have this proppage available today, you could also simply just lay down on your belly. And in this variation, you might want to turn your head to one side. I think in this variation, actually, it feels better to have the palms facing down, but you can play around, see what you think. Maybe it feels better for you to have your palms up. So just finding your setup. And then let's all take a nice deep inhale here together. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. So there is no need to practice your Ujjayi breath today. That's that inhale through your nose, exhale through your nose, creating the soft rush of air in the back of your throat. So there's that kind of heated quality, that effort. If you like that breath and it helps to kind of calm and soothe and quiet you, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, you're just simply finding a nice, easy rhythm with your breath, and you are inhaling and exhaling through your nose. It just doesn't have any effort at all. You're doing a little scan of your body as we start here, making sure that you aren't gripping or holding tension anywhere that you don't need to. So really feel the front of your body just melting down into the mat. Make sure there isn't any tension in your face and jaw. There's no tension in your shoulders. And then just finding this place of stillness. I'm going to try not to talk a whole lot today so you can really go there. So as you move in this direction of relaxation, you can try to clear your mind of thoughts. For some of us, that happens kind of naturally when we're doing a restorative class. Some days that's harder. We can't turn the brain on. So I'm going to say, if your brain isn't shutting up today, smile at it, but kind of direct what you're thinking about. Turn this more into a daydream session as opposed to a solving how you're going to get the rest of the stuff done this afternoon. Worrying about checking things off the to-do list. Let this be enjoyable instead. So direct what you're thinking about if that's where you need to be today. And a few of us might even start to drift towards sleep. That's okay. Probably means you need a little nap, so enjoy that. And we're going to be here probably another 4 or 5 minutes. So just sink in, relax, and I'm going to let you know when it's time to come out of this pose. If you're laying on your belly here and you have your cheek turned to one side, go ahead and just flip it to the other side. About 7 or 8 more breaths here. So really soften. Again, make sure you're not gripping. Maybe bringing your attention to how the breath feels through your torso as you both inhale and exhale. So there's this expansion and then this contraction. Nice and easy, just taking your time so there's no rush. We're going to start to press our way out of this. Good. And then we're going to just move into a supported child's pose. So we're basically here. So if you have this bolster in front of you, you can continue to use that. If you're using blankets, you might want to stack a couple of those on top of each other. So making more of a bolster shape. Again, like big beach towels would work really well for that as well. And then we're going to take our knees wide, and then you're going to snuggle the bolster in, and then we're going to hinge forward, fold in. Now, if you're a little tighter in your hips, just doing this, you might feel that. So maybe you add a little height to your bolster. So you make this even like easier, more relaxing. And you can just start with your cheek turned to one side or the other. Find a place with your arms that feels good. Again, I find that just having palms facing down feels a little bit better in the shoulders. They don't tend to hang as much, especially when we have these stacked up props. You might even want to, if you have an extra blanket or cushion here with you, and it just could either take that across the bottom of the sacrum. You might even go the long way on top of your spine. So just a little pressure, a little grounding, which feels nice. You can think of this as one of those weighted blankets. And then you make any adjustments that you need to. And again, you're just relaxing in here. So you don't have to worry about anything. If you can't turn the brain off today, direct what you're thinking about, daydream. Let it be something pleasant and nice. And if you're in this sweet spot of silence, really enjoy that, soak it up. And finally, you can really follow that motion of your breath, get curious about it, pay attention to it. Maybe that helps to kind of quiet any chatter that's happening. As you're here in these poses, if there's ever anything that starts to hurt, certainly come out, make any adjustments you need to. And again, you can unmute or type in the chat box if something isn't working, and we can find a variation that's better. So you do want to feel pretty comfortable here. We're getting this kind of nice, easy, supported stretch, but it's nothing big. So this is different than certainly our vinyasa class, and is also very different than a yin class in which we're kind of going for that deep stretch and sensation. We want this to be really easy, really mellow. From here, you can start to turn your cheek to the other side. You might feel a little stretch as you initially come into that. So just keep breathing. And eventually you're going to find a little space there.
7 or 8 more good breaths here. Take a nice deep inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. And then nice and easy, just use your hands to press up. And let's give our legs a little shake out here. So you can just come to your Dandasana. Kind of bring a little life, little blood back to the legs. And we're going to come into our Mermaid Twist here. So again, you can just kind of stick with this same setup. So we're going to bend our knees, and it doesn't matter what side you start on, but you're going to bring this bolster to that hip. Feet are folding behind you. Then you're going to take one hand on either side of your bolster or your cushion or your blankets. And you're going to start to lay down. So you'll just be resting, face turning towards your knees, basically. So whatever ear that is, it puts you in that direction. So it feels nice and easy. Can play around with arms. Where do you feel a sense of relaxation? You're not getting too much pull in your shoulders. So you're going to be here. If you don't have bolsters, if you're joining this on YouTube, you could simply come into classic twist on your back. So you would start in the fetal position here. And then open top arm up and over. You might find that you need to slide a little blanket underneath that shoulder that is stretching. And then just hanging out here. So these twists, really nice for the spine. They give everything a little ring out. Great for like lower back, sciatic issues. And of course, in this configuration, it's also just really relaxing. So that's the important thing. Let yourself enjoy that. So just melting in here. Do a little scan of your body. Make sure you're not gripping or holding anywhere that you don't need to. Listen to your breath. Feel the expansion and the contraction of your breath as you inhale and exhale. You really want to let your body melt into the props here. Relax and release. So you are not trying to effort anything in. So nice deep inhale. Sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. And then gently, nice and easy, if you're on a bolster, just use your hands to press up here. If you're on the twist, if you're in the twist on the floor, just come back to that fetal position. And then we're just gonna switch sides here. So a couple ways you can do that. You can flip around, or you can grab your bolster and move it to the other side. If you're on the floor, just go ahead and roll on to the opposite side. And then again, we just start to melt in to whatever position we're taking here. Might feel a little different, especially initially. You're going to notice that. You might feel a little more sensation in lower back, side body. So make any adjustments that you need to. Take more props if you need to. So again, you could always layer a blanket on top of this bolster here. This is still a little intense. So we're not going for big stretch, but we are going for relaxation. And then your nose is just facing towards your knees. So in that direction. I sometimes have us flip-flop onto the other cheek. We're skipping that today. We're keeping this really nice and easy. And then melting in here. So a big piece of what we're trying to accomplish in this restorative practice is dropping into the parasympathetic nervous system. So we spend the bulk of our day in the sympathetic nervous system, and that is the fight, flight, kind of freeze place where we're busy getting things done. We're a little bit stressed out sometimes. We're trying to check things off the to-do list. So the parasympathetic nervous system is opposite of that. So this is a place where we drop into that rest, heal, restore mode. And so that naturally happens when we go to sleep at night. In the context of this restorative yoga practice, we're kind of trying to approximate that in a short amount of time. We're slowing everything down. We're really focusing on the breath. We're relaxing. So we're not worried about doing. And this has tremendous benefit. Sometimes it supercharges our creativity. Helps us to solve problems. The tricky part about it is that it's hard to go here. It's hard to give ourselves permission to do this. So sometimes you need a restorative yoga class and a teacher saying, okay, just relax, chill out, it's okay. So really enjoy this, knowing that you're kind of putting some deposits in your wellness bank. And this is going to help you to feel better the rest of today, perhaps even the next few days. You're going to also learn some poses that you could do regularly. You don't need a whole hour. Sometimes just popping into one of these poses for 10 or 15 minutes can have profound positive effect. Taking a nice deep inhale here. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. And then nice and easy, rolling on up. Okay, so we're gonna come into just a simple little Pashimo Tanasana. So forward fold with legs extended. If you know that you're a little bit tighter in hamstrings and spine, this is a pretty intense stretch for most of us. We're not looking for that today, so we wanna prop it up. So you could be sitting up on something, and then maybe it might feel nice to take a blanket underneath your knees here. And then we're gonna give ourselves something to rest on. So bolsters or cushions from the couch can be really nice here. And the bolster is handy because you can kind of lay down on it. Even that's gonna feel rather intense for some of us. So you can also kind of makeshift it so you're not in very deep at all. The other thing that you could do if you are near, if you have a chair, desk chair, or even a coffee table or something in front of you, you can kind of set up near that and then just sort of fold in. So this isn't pretty. We're not trying to keep our spine nice and long here. We're just getting some of the benefits of this forward fold. Do try to be in a place where you can rest your forehead on something so that just has this nice calming quality. Helps us to find a little more ease in the pose. And like I said, it's okay if your legs turn out. So if you're getting a little external rotation at the hip socket, usually in this pose, we're looking for that nice neutral alignment. Not so important here today. If you feel any stretch at all that is bordering on being intense or even sensation, give yourself a little more proppage, just back out. And then find that breath again. Find a place with your arms, your hands that feels good. Listening to your breath. Soaking up the quiet. Just about 7 or 8 more good breaths here. You might need to give your legs a little shake, a little wiggle here. Nice deep inhale. Full complete exhale, let everything go. And then as you inhale, you start to roll on up. And again, just shake the legs out a little bit. So sometimes in these seated variations, they start to go a little numb. All right, so I want to come into a bridge pose with the option to turn that in to our shoulder stand pose, supported shoulder stand pose. So if you do have a chair close by, keep it in front of you. And if you don't have a chair, you could kind of set up in front of a coffee table. And if that's not working, you can just skip this section. And when we get there, you can just stay in your bridge pose, but it's kind of nice. So as we come into our bridge pose, you're either going to stack a couple blankets on top of each other. So you kind of have a bolster situation again. Or you can also use a block here. So you can just watch for a few moments, and I'll just kind of demo these. So it can be a little bit tricky to slide the bolster underneath you, especially if it's a big bolster and you're a little bit taller, but that would basically look like pressing into bridge, and you can see I'm high up on my tippy toes and then sliding it under. I think the easier way to get into this is to actually sit up on your blankets or whatever props you're using, and then work your way down. So again, we want it at the bottom of the sacrum. So you kind of find that place. And then when you're in, it's a little easier to adjust where you need to be. And then while you're watching here, so I have my chair close. So eventually we're just going to take our legs up on the chair. If you have one, if you have something in front of you, if you don't, that's not a problem. Don't worry about that. So finally, the other variation that you could do here, can take a block under your sacrum. We've all done that before. If you have two blocks, sometimes it feels a little more supportive if you stack the two blocks on top of each other, if you want to go a little higher. That being said, maybe it's just going to feel better to have a lower back bend. So again, just more restorative. The best way to come into that is from your spine, press into your bridge pose, and then slide that block underneath. And especially with the blocks, you can see I've got like the curve of my lower back here. What happens sometimes is we get those blocks in the lower back, so the buns start to melt to the floor. It's so much pressure on the lumbar. It feels terrible. So scoot that block closer towards your knees. And you'll know when you hit the spot, it just feels really, really easy and comfortable to be here. So Setu Bandha Sarvangasana bridge pose. Check in with your shoulders here. Really let them melt down into the floor. Relax, feel that stretch across your heart and chest. And then I also love this pose because it's one of those it's a great shape to feel the expansion of the rib cage as you inhale. Looks good, Pamela. So in this bridge pose, even though we're relaxing here, we don't want to relax so much that we start to roll to the outer edges of our feet. So keep that nice alignment of knees over ankles, feet pressing evenly. So you just might stay in your bridge pose here. If you wanted to come into that supported shoulder stand, you can start to lift your legs up on top of a chair, a desk, and then you might need to adjust a little bit. This doesn't necessarily matter how your legs are positioned. I think it feels nice to have the chair a little closer to the knees, but you might feel better having a little more length. Just find that place where you're comfortable. Again, a quick little scan here, especially if you lifted the legs. Did you start to grip the inner thigh, the groin, soften there? Maybe it even feels like those knees start to turn out a little bit. And I should have said this earlier, but if you do, without getting out of the shape, if you have your blanket close to you, you could always take that on top of your belly, give yourself a little weight, a little pressure there. That might feel nice. So if legs are on a chair or a desk or propped up, just start to release down. So coming back to your bridge pose for a moment. If you've got blocks underneath your sacrum, the best way to get out of that is to press into your feet, lift up, just move it out from underneath you. If you are on your bolster or some blankets, I think it feels best to just roll off to one side, and then you can just snuggle or just move that bolster out of the way rather. And then let's all set up for a nice little supine twist. So just classic twist on the floor. It doesn't matter which direction you're facing. Just make sure that wrist of the bottom arm is perpendicular to your shoulder. Take the opposite palm on top of that bottom palm. And the knees are facing the direction of that arm, or both arms rather. And then as you inhale, start to take that top arm up and over. So just opening up into a twist here. That opposite shoulder, if there's any pressure there, you can slide a block underneath, a blanket underneath. You might be gazing straight up at the ceiling. You might roll towards that opposite cheek. You'll feel a little stretch in the neck there. Good. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. Start to release that top arm back. So placing the palm on the bottom palm and then roll onto the opposite side. So that same setup. So it's like you have a crocodile nose there. Good. And then take a nice deep inhale. Top arm reaches up and over like a rainbow. So you start to move into this twist. So that arm that is reaching up and over, you want to move towards letting that shoulder blade settle down into the mat. Sometimes that's just not happening. So sliding a block underneath, a blanket underneath is a really nice adjustment. And then either just pressing into the back of the center of your head, or moving towards looking in the direction of that opposite arm. A few more good breaths here on this side. Good. Take a nice deep inhale. As you exhale, reach arm back up and over. So hand resting on the palm. Good. And then nice and slow, nice and easy, you're going to start to press up. And we are going to make our way into our final resting pose. So we're going to come into a version of Shavasana, and depending upon what you have there, you can kind of make shift here. But here's one possibility. So I've taken my bolster. It's the long way. I'm going to eventually lay back on that. So your little towel or blanket, if you have that, you probably have one rolled the long way. So we're going to actually roll it so it's a little bit fatter this time. That is going to go below your knees. So just this setup in and of itself would feel really nice. So I bring my sacrum back against this bolster. I have a little pillow here on my bolster for my head. You may or may not need that. You're going to play around. It feels really nice to have it on the back of the neck. It helps you to find that length. So this feels really good here. If you do have a couple of blocks or some books handy, you might also want to play with putting your heels on the block. So it's kind of like a little floating Shavasana. And then just melting back here.
Again, you could use a stack of blankets in place of a bolster if that feels better. You're also welcome to just come into a classic Shavasana here. You might even lay back flat on your mat, but then take your legs onto that chair or coffee table that you might be using. So that too is going to feel really nice. You're going to see if you need a little support underneath your head. So play around, find the final resting pose that feels best in your body, and then just melt in here. So even though we're drawing towards the end of our time together, do give yourself permission not to worry about all of the stuff you have to get done just yet. Really be in these final few moments. Really let your body relax and absorb all of this great work you've done. Shavasana. Take a deeper inhale here. And then let the breath go. Ha. And just start to bring some gentle movement back to your body. You can wiggle fingers and toes, circle ankles and wrists. Maybe stretch your arms up overhead. And then staying really soft and quiet, you're going to roll to one side or the other. Just find that fetal position again. Pause there a moment as you transition back upright. And then use your hands to help you press up to a comfortable seat. And check in here. Notice how you feel differently than when you started. So we always do this, and you might find that the sensation that you're getting is a little mellower than our vinyasa flow class. So that's a good thing. That being said, you still might be feeling a lot of space and openness. And hopefully you're feeling a little calmer and quieter. Bring your palms together at your heart. Bow your head with love and gratitude. Terrific work today. Thank you.